Hi guys, it's Professor Fernandez, and here is the second video on how to do your research compare and contrast essay. So we went through this entire process. I outlined what to do first, second, and third. You can go back to the first video to see what you need to do. In this particular video, we are actually going to focus on keywords and research strategy. We're going to brainstorm some possible words and phrases to put in a search engine and the databases. I should put and here because I want you to use them both because there's good information in both. And so we're going to do this here. And what we're going to do here is that we're going to create a working thesis. I'm going to create a working thesis here. I actually have already created one. It's down below, but we'll get to that here in a second. I'm going to create a working thesis here because I want to be able to go from the thesis to keywords here. And the working thesis means that it is a work in progress, right? Because as we're doing this, I may want to change some things. And it's perfectly fine to change some things. Again, the thesis is not solidified until you actually turn in the paper. So you can change it at any time. Just make sure that if you change your thesis at any point, that it may change what you write in the paper. So what I don't want you to do is change your thesis. Say you have three things that are the reason why maybe the 5-hour rule is a better practice technique than the Feynman technique. And you've changed one of those reasons, but you have the old reasons in your essay. So just make sure that if you're changing your thesis, you're also changing the corresponding things in the essay. Okay, so I'm going to do a working thesis here because from the working thesis, I want to do my keywords and search strategy, and I want to brainstorm a list of words and phrases, my working list of keywords and phrases that are going to help me. And then we're going to go into the database and pop things into Academic Search Complete. I'll teach you how to get there too. And so let's get started. So here I have a working thesis here. Remember, there are three things you want to do in your thesis for your research compare and contrast essay. You want to acknowledge the other side, the losing side, or the side that you don't agree with, right? You want to say who the winner is, and then you want to give 3 reasons why the winner's the winner. So let's see if this particular thesis does this. Step 1, you acknowledge the other side. I say here, despite the successful use of the 5-hour rule by famous people, boom, because Benjamin Franklin would use the 5-hour rule, right? Check 1, right? It's acknowledging the other side. So that means that if I am acknowledging the other side, that means this is a pro-Feynman technique essay and thesis, right? So that means that I'm declaring a winner. And so the winner here needs to be declared the Feynman technique. So I say here in the thesis, the Feynman technique is a better way of practicing skills because, all right, I have acknowledged the winner. Now the next section of this has to be 3 reasons why I think the Feynman technique is better. So I say that the technique is more structured. I say it allows the learner to take their time to learn. Put the word "it" in the wrong place, sorry. And it forces them, by them I mean the learner, see how I'm constantly like editing even as we go? And it forces the learner to teach what they learn to others. Right? So 1, 2, 3. Yay! All right, so we have this here, and where I'm going to concentrate here is on this part of the thesis. So let me highlight this so that we are understanding. I'm going to try to kind of glean some keywords and phrases by putting some words together, putting similar words together, And it's going to get me started. Again, it's going to get me started. It is not the end all be all of the words I'm going to use, because remember what we said, it's a working list. Okay? It's a working list. So one thing that I want to put in here is Feynman technique. Obviously, we're talking about the Feynman technique, right? We want to talk about practicing. Maybe practicing skills. Do you see where I'm getting these concepts? I'm literally taking it from the thesis. Practicing skills. Structured practice. Right? Because we talked about the practices, the technique being more structured. We want to talk about learners. Learning, or we can just do learning. How people learn. It's a phrase. How people practice. Successful practicing techniques. Aha! See how that works? This may take us down a rabbit hole, but successful learning techniques. Again, remember, we're limited by 2 things, right? So I'm going to stop here and say, if you put this in Google, you're going to get 10,000 million things. If you put this in Academic Search Complete, you'll get 10,000 million things. I want you to remember that we're focusing on 2 techniques here, okay? And so an article may not name the Feynman technique by name or the 5-hour rule by name, but we know that part of the Feynman technique is reflection, right? So when we're looking for, remember up here, we're looking for anecdotal and data. So we may want to look for data that is about reflection and learning, or reflection and practicing, right? So if there's another technique that is being mentioned, you may not want to use it, because again, we're limited by the 2 things. We only tried 2 techniques. There's 10,000 million techniques out there, guys. I only picked 2. You're welcome. All right, let's see what else. Let's see. Learner to teach what they've learned to others. So maybe it's like peer learning. Peer to peer. Okay. So we have all of these. Let me cut and paste this so it's on one page. Oop. Or maybe just do this. It's all on one page. This is our working list of keywords and phrases that we can put in a Google search and a search for the database. Now, Google is great because you can literally put like a whole question in there and it'll do a lot of hard work or heavy lifting for you. However, get into the practice of using the Boolean operators, and that's the and or and not. Right, the glue. I don't know if you remember this part of the lesson. Get in the practice of doing that, because it makes your search a lot more focused, right? Instead of using a baseball bat to cut something open, you're using a laser, right? That's the difference between putting a whole question into Google versus using keywords and Boolean operators. One is a bat trying to cut open a side of beef, and the other one is a very pristine scalpel. It's very exact, okay? All right. There you go. So in the next lesson, we are going to go into the databases and get going.